Well, good morning. Thank you all for coming. I appreciate it. I know this is the first quarterly meeting of the year, so that's kind of a long stretch. For those that didn't know, I had a kind of major surgery in February, and then my husband was hospitalized for pneumonia in May, and it turns out that was congestive heart failure, so he's down at the Mayo Clinic Hospital now. He had a open heart surgery last month and then complications, so he was out for a week in a coma. He's recovering. His kidneys have failed, so he's now on dialysis. We're hoping that will recover. But it was important for me that we don't continue to cancel these meetings, so I'm up here to be with you and hopefully catch up on things. I know I've been a little bit out around the community. Typically I'm out more and see you guys more, so I apologize for being in and out so much this year. Hopefully things will resolve soon, and next year we'll all be healthy and happy. So to get on with the meeting, thank you all for coming in with us. Where's the clicker? So we have a lot to cover. If you have questions, I see a few new faces too, so if you have questions, just raise your hand and let us know. We have mics because this whole thing is recorded. We put it on our website for people that couldn't make the meeting, and so we don't want you to ask a question from the audience without the mic, because otherwise it's not picked up and so people can't hear what your question or comment was. But I like these to be an open discussion so that you guys give me feedback and we can better serve you and respond to your questions and issues. And so if you have a question or a comment during the course of it, just raise your hand and one of the staff members will come around and give you the mic to look at. So my staff that's here today is Paula Cook. Probably most of you guys know her. She's a supervisor in the Marriage License Bureau. She works directly with our couples. What's your name? Carl Bates. He's the Marriage License Bureau manager. Ashley, probably all of you guys know Ashley. She's the one that works down in this building, and that's where you take the marriage certificates when you file. And Connie is outside still. She's my new executive assistant, and Bianca works on the marriage license and the efficient applications, and she's outside helping people come in. So I know parking is difficult here. We've been trying to figure out, I don't know any other place that's large enough to have a meeting like this. If we could figure out the parking solution, that would be great. If you guys have ideas, let me know, but as far as I know, this is the best location so far. So the agenda today, you had an agenda that you could pick up outside. We're going to go over staff updates real quickly, system enhancements. The legislative session was this year. We did have some bills that went through, so we want to talk about those a little bit. Hopefully nobody here, but we are continuing our late filing monitoring, efficient training course, and then kind of last year in review. Excuse me, I know it's late in the year, but since this is our first meeting, we'll pretend like it's January right then. And then what's happened so far year to date in 2019, and then what we want to do for 2020. So it's a lot to cover, and I definitely want your participation, but let's get moving. So staff updates, Connie Baldwin, I think you guys saw her outside. Connie, do you want to stand up? She's my new executive assistant. And Bianca, who is also out there. Oh, okay, and is having a baby, so she'll be here for a little while more, but then she's going to take maternity leave, and while she's gone, Chris Leach will be her backup. Oh, there's Bianca. Everybody wave. System enhancements, and Carl sometimes has to help me through this part, but I don't know if you guys noticed the Marriage Bureau remodel that we've been going through. We got rid of all of those cupboards in the middle. That's opened up the lobby a lot, and it's a lot better now because of that. Most of the remodel has been on the back end. You know, we're open from 8 a.m. until midnight every day of the year, so that's basically 3 shifts for every typical work day. So we do 3 days for every day. So the wear and tear on the Marriage License Bureau backside is 3 times as high as it would be in any other office. So there were some major problems with it. We put down new flooring so that it's cleaner for everybody. We got new counters so that it was no longer cracked and catching on their clothes and ripping their clothes. We have new curtains, so it looks better from the lobby in. And then we have some security measures that I'm really excited about for my staff too, so that if some terrible thing happened, there's some recourse. We don't want to probably give a whole lot of personal details about that, but it's a much safer environment now. The online marriage license application, we continue to update that. Carl can give you a little bit of a heads up.
Everybody hear me? Morning, everybody. So this year we're going to see several changes to the online marriage license application, our online web cart where people order marriage certificates, and the kiosks in our lobby to buy marriage certificates out of there. The biggest change for the online marriage license application is it's going to be totally redesigned to make it mobile friendly. Right now it's okay, it's not so great, but it's also going to be able to support multiple languages. So out of the gate, when we get it rolled out, I think it's going to be English and Spanish, and then we're going to move on and implement other languages as we go throughout the next year. So that's going to really help us out. Right now, if you don't know, we do have our application available in different languages in the office. So if you do have a client that speaks German, Italian, whichever, we do have those forms available in the office if they need them, because I know sometimes filling out our online app is not all that easy. The online app too has some problems when we implemented the new name, married name, and so it will fix that too, because every once in a while, I don't know if you've heard, but the application will crash when you do certain things with it when you're dealing with the designating a new name. So all those problems will be fixed. The checkout when using the marriage certificate kiosks is going to be, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Are the foreign language forms available at the Laughlin office?
They have access to them, so if somebody does come down there and they need one, they certainly can get them. If they don't have them, they can just call into the office and we can make sure they get them, so it shouldn't be a problem. The kiosks right now, I don't know if any of you have used our kiosks. They're okay. They take a long time to get through, and we are going to really be streamlining the kiosks so that people can get on them and check out and get their marriage certificate a lot quicker. The biggest change there is right now we have a billing information screen where they've got to fill out about 10 different fields of information, which requirements with credit cards has changed over the years, and so it's not going to be necessary any longer. So hopefully we can get customers through those kiosks a lot quicker, and it has a more modern interface to it as well. The web cart ordering, so the online system, it's going to be totally revamped. So right now, one of the biggest downfalls of the online web cart is that it forces folks to create an account. It's not very user-friendly. It's very antiquated. It's not mobile device friendly. All going to be redone, all going to be overhauled. So hopefully by the end of this year or sometime before the end of the first quarter of 2020, you're going to see all these changes come about with our systems for our customers. So we're really trying to focus on customer service improvements when it comes to our systems. Any questions?
And then the final one. I know last year, I don't think we've had as much problem this year, but last year we had 3 shutdowns within like 6 weeks, which really impacted you guys. It was something that we absolutely were very concerned with. We don't like to turn off the system and go to paper unless we have to, because that's very cumbersome and time consuming, and I know that that impacted you. So one of the things that was a major priority for us was resolving that issue. It's taken quite a bit of time, but we actually have it resolved. So now if for some reason, again, the county system goes down, we have a Meraki, is that how you say it?
Yeah, it's a Meraki. It's basically a piece of networking equipment where we can get outside the county's network to stay up and running.
Yeah, so we can actually set up and continue working just as efficiently, even if the county system is completely down. So that's a great backup for us, and that means that you don't have couples that have to come back again or that miss their appointment because we weren't able to issue their licenses. So that, for me, was a really important and a big deal. And then the really kind of cool thing about it is it's actually independent of the county. So that is what we took out to the airport when we did the pop-up marriage license bureau at the airport this year. And that means that potentially, and we haven't figured this out, and when we get to the end of this meeting and talk about potential brainstorming session coming up, potentially we could set up a marriage license bureau someplace else at a special event or at a certain thing. So that's we don't know, we don't have any plans, but, that's something that we could do. So we're very excited about that. Any questions about anything about the system, software, how we're doing our business? Okay, so the legislature met this year. Typically, we have a clerk's bill. We did have a clerk's bill this year, AB 482, but also, anybody can create a bill that relates to marriages. And Shannon Bilbray Axelrod was very concerned with underage marriage and potentials for sex trafficking and those kinds of issues. And so they did get a bill. It was very popular up there. They did get a bill passed where no one under 18 can get married in Nevada any longer, except for if you're a local resident, both parties are local residents, and you're 17, and you go to the court and get a court order to issue a marriage license to you. So just so that you guys know, we will no longer issue marriage licenses if they're under 18. So they have to be 18 when they get the license. And then, because we can't control when they get married. So if we got it 17 and a half and they say, oh, I promise I won't use it, we can't control that. So we won't issue licenses to anyone under 18 except with a court order. And even with the court order, they say pregnancy is not enough of a reason to issue a marriage license. So I'm not sure what their criteria is, what they would consider important enough or different enough to issue a license to a 17-year-old, but that will no longer be available as of October 1st, I think. Yeah, October 1st. So make sure that you guys know that, and you can pass that information along. We don't have a lot of that, but we do have some. AB 482 was the clerk's bill. Mostly it was just a cleanup bill. There wasn't a lot of things in it. What it did do, though, that's really good for us and why we could talk about the system enhancements that we want to do is because it added a potential to put a tech fee on every document that's filed within the clerk's office. The recorders always had that, the assessor had that, but the clerks didn't. It impacts some of the rural counties even stronger than it impacts us because they literally had $0 to do anything with. So they were, they couldn't even put in a computer system. They had to use, like Word for everything. So this will really help some of the rural counties, and it will help us because we'll be able to do things like, fix the kiosk and make the application easier and more mobile friendly. And we have some other ideas that we've talked to you about that we will implement. What you guys use once in a while is the fictitious firm name, and it has a 5-year renewal. And one of our first projects is to get that to be where, especially on the renewal, that you can do that from home, just like you can re-register for your car with the DMV. So you no longer have to fill out the paper form and come down to our office and have the wet signature. I think that will be a great enhancement for everybody within the wedding industry that's doing a business as well as people that are outside of the industry. And then the other thing that you should be aware of, particularly chapel owners, is we have the ability then to issue a civil penalty for hand billers that go on county property. And it's up to $500. If any of you have followed what we did with the people that were marrying people without a business, without a Officiants license, where there was a fine of up to $1,500 for marrying somebody without a license. What we do is we send a letter, and basically we want to make sure people understand that we do now have some teeth. If there's a financial burden, we typically just waive it, but then we hope that they don't do it a second time. So we think that that will get rid of a lot of the issues that we have gotten complaints about with the hand billers being too aggressive with couples. We've gotten complaints about that since I took office for the last 5 years. Almost every Officiants meeting has had somebody bring that up, and we hope that this will be something that lets them know that they need to follow the law and not be so aggressive and follow people down the street and go up on county property on the steps and those kinds of things. Any questions about that? Go ahead.
Are the sidewalks county property?
No. Oh, Carl has a.
So when you come down the steps, There is a certain part of the sidewalk area there that is county property, and then it transitions to city property. It's not, there's no dividing line, so saying where exactly that happens is a little tough right now. We've reached out to county facilities to try to get a diagram, if you will, so that we can show the dividing property. There is a city ordinance right now where they have the two hand billers boxes, which are in the designated, painted in the yellow stripes. That's where they really need to just stay. But until we can clearly get it defined, I can't tell you exactly where it is.
Yeah, and we really haven't moved forward on this yet because there's a lot of things we need to get in place before we do. But I do want you to know that this is coming up, and we do intend to do something about it, so that maybe just send a letter. I think if people know that there's a potential for that, that might actually just stop it.
What exactly is a hand biller? Is that like an ambulance chaser, if you would, for
Those are
law?
the people that stand at the outside the Marriage License Bureau and distribute literature for various chapels.
Did you include that picture in here, Lynn?
I don't remember seeing a picture. I put this together really quickly. As I mentioned, my husband is still down in Phoenix, and so I've only been home a couple days. I've been driving up and back, so there may be some glitches in this PowerPoint, just to let you know. So what happened last year in 2018? Well, we still continue to see a decline. Last year actually was the biggest decline. We had a 6% decline last year, so we're not happy about that, but we are going to be taking additional steps to try to rectify that. As you can see, the red line is actually visitor volume from the LVCV, the total visitor volume of people coming to Las Vegas in period, and as tourists, and then the blue columns are the marriage licenses issued. So you can see that our numbers continue to decline even as the visitor volume has recovered from the recession. So it's an issue that's specific to our industry. And I just wanted to, you guys can get to these, if you look at our website, clarkcountynv.gov/clerk, and there's a column on the left, and if you look at stats, we post our statistics every month, at the end of every month. So this chart is from there. There's a number of other charts as well, but that just lets you track what's happening. It's, how many marriages and how many licenses were issued for each month. And so this is a multi-year graph. I know it's hard to see these. So the blue is 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, and 14. And you can see that the big question, so the blue is under everything else, unfortunately. But you can see that, January and February are usually low. We used to, and we continue to see the blue line. It's still going up in March, April, and May, and then it comes down during the heat in June, July, and August. And then at September and October, it rises up again. November, it typically goes down. I mean, the shape is the same, even though there's more differences. But you can see that we used to get a bump in December that we don't seem to be getting any longer, and that obviously impacts our numbers. So, we'd like to see that resolved. It's kind of interesting to just look at that. We used to get a much bigger bump in July than we have now. It didn't used to go down quite as much. So that's, I don't know what that tells us, except for, maybe these are places that we can try to put out a little bit more effort to get people to come and, resolve those issues. Where we have lost the most business is from California, Arizona, and Utah. We've lost almost half our business from California, 44% from Arizona, and 38% from Utah since our peak in 2004. Go ahead. Just a second.
You know where they're from. Do you know where they are getting married?
Well, we obviously don't have statistics for places that aren't us, right? But since the recession, we have seen a lot of marketing in other destinations. South Carolina, Florida, New York has been doing an incredible amount of marketing. And California, like Santa Barbara and the wine country and Napa. So I don't know that they're all going one place. Mexico is doing great business, the Bahamas. So I don't know that they're all going one place as they are, spreading out, because you lose 10 people from Los Angeles, and 15 from Bakersfield, and 5 from San Diego. It starts to add up, even if it's not like an overwhelming number in any one place. So I think it's important to know, as much as we can, and that's what this is about, rather than I have a solution necessarily. Go ahead and ask that again.
Do you have statistics then from nationwide similar to what you have for this area?
I don't have detailed statistics. The CDC, the Center for Disease Control, keeps the national records on vital statistics, including marriages. And so every state sends their aggregate number. So that's available online. If you look at CDC, if you look up CDC marriages and divorces, it's in a table. They're separate tables, but they're in the same report. And put in the year 2019 or 2018, because typically you can get something that's really old. And so you can look at the states and see what they're doing. No state is really jumping, not as a whole, but within states sometimes, like Charleston, for instance, I saw an article from Charleston, South Carolina, that was saying locals can't find a place to get married. There's so much business now. So, that's like a local destination. We submit as a county to the state, and so cities don't really, even though we are Las Vegas, it's the county that submits, so the county looks really big. So nobody keeps statistics on like a city, and we don't have the staff. That'd be some great project for help us, look at certain states and look at the counties and see if we can really identify if there's particular counties that are doing great, and then figure out like where within that county would be the city that's doing the business. I know Branston does a lot of business. It's a good business, as you guys know. It brings in a lot of money for the whole economy, and it's a good business for, the individual that has the business, and other people have discovered that it's a good business. So we have a lot more competition than we used to have.
I have a question. Is there any way to find out whether people are just not getting married? In other words, our values as a nation is that we have marriages.
Hold that question.
Pardon?
Hold that question, and we'll talk about it in
okay.
a minute. Anybody else? It'll come later. 2008 initiatives that we did last year were the Royal Wedding Month, Las Vegas Marries the Military, and then we put up a, is that Snapchat? Snapchat, where we did the block around the RJC, and people can take their picture and put it on Snapchat. So encourage your couples to do that and send it out on their social media. We know that when people say, I got married in Las Vegas, and send that out, that actually drives business for us. So encourage your couples to share their story. I don't have it on here, but we still have the free website if they want to get that free website from .vegas with a domain name. So it's free for a year, and then they can re-up at a nominal fee to keep that for the rest of their lives. And that, again, kind of helps us promote Las Vegas as a wedding destination. So encourage the website, encourage them to share on social media, encourage them to take a picture at the Marriage License Bureau and send it out on their Facebook, and send a picture out on their social media when they get married and their honeymoon and what they're doing the whole time. So the more we can get the couples to kind of get excited about sharing their experience, the better it's going to be for all of us. Also last year, we started the vow renewal, where they can actually come and get a certificate for vow renewal at the Marriage License Bureau. And the reason we did this is not because we're trying to take your certificate business away from you, but because we would have about 150 couples a year that would come in, fill out all the forms, pay at the register, and then we'd have to go, oh, well, you're already married, and have to refund them the money. So we know at least 150 couples got that far. And so they want that Marriage License Bureau experience as part of their wedding. So now they can come, you can send them to us, and they can get us something special. You can still give them your certificate if you want to, but this allows, you guys to market that, yeah, you can go to the Marriage License Bureau and get an official document that says that you're doing a vow renewal, and, best of luck in all of your endeavors, from now on. It's actually, Carl is saying, pulling some statistics for me on that.
206 we've issued so far.
Yeah, we haven't really advertised it. It's just been word of mouth, and we only had a few the first, while, but I guess we did over 200 this year. So as people find out about it, I think that they think it's fun. It's cheap. It's $25, right? $21. See, I've been gone for a while. Kind of got get back in gear. $21. So it's a fun experience for them. If they don't want to do it, there's no legal ramification at all. We don't keep records of it, frankly. It's not a legal document. It's not required to do a vow renewal, but if they want to do that, now we have something for them. Any questions on that? Oops.
Good morning. My question is when you perform a vow renewal over at a chapel, usually they require the documents to prove that you've been married before. So when you're issuing this license, are you taking any documentation from them? Okay. Because most chapels I work at cover their bases just in case.
No, we do not require any. It's not a legal document, and so we don't have any of those requirements that we would have for a marriage license. So if they want to lie about it, they could. I don't know why they would want to, but you never know. But again, we don't file it. There's no permanent record. So if they came back in 2 years or 2 weeks and asked for the record, we don't do that. That's why we can keep it so cheap. So there's no legal requirement. There's no legal implication for them taking out this document. Did you have a question? Oh. We aren't the only ones that did kind of fun promotions last year. I don't know if you heard was it the White Wedding Chapel? Yeah. Based on this song, It's a Nice Day for a White Wedding, which is kind of a creepy song, but it's very fun. But the content's kind of creepy. But we went down there and saw it. It was really kind of cool, and it's very modern, very different, and it got a lot of attention. And I think that's the kind of thing that we want to see, is where, we aren't doing the same old where people are bored with it. We're doing fresh things that have a new take on the Vegas wedding. And then obviously we had Say Yes to the UK Dress that aired last year, and then we also had another UK film company come doing Hitched in Vegas. And I think we reached out to you guys and said that they were looking for couples, and if you wanted your couple to apply, there's a link on our site. As of yesterday, it was not a good link anymore. I don't know what they're doing, but apparently they're still filming and still looking for couples. So we'll call them, reach out to them, and find out why the link is no longer good. But if you have a couple from the UK that wants to participate in that, then we can submit their application. I mean, we wouldn't do it, but they can submit their application. So 2019, this year. So we got a national award for the Marriage Officiant training program and revamping that you guys have been a big part of. And then this is a secret, so don't tell anybody, but we just got notified that we got a Digital Communities Award from Digital Cities. So that's not out yet. But we're very proud of that. A lot of it was based on the input that, it took us a couple years to get the program going. We now have had a year, 2 years almost, of the training program. It seems to be really well accepted, and that's what the award was for. So far, last year we went 305 long-term officiants through training. The single ceremonies, which were a big problem of them not knowing what they were doing and doing it wrong, over 1,200 single ceremonies, so almost 1,600 People were trained last year, officiants were trained to make sure they did the ceremonies and filed correctly and all those things. And then this year we're obviously doing pretty well. 286 so far this year, 626 singles, and then a total of almost 1,000. So I think it's a program that is going to pay off in the long run, as well as you know, every day where people do less mistakes, and we make sure that the couples that come here to get married are being married in the correct manner and have all the legal dots and I's crossed. So another thing that we started after we took over the marriage certificate filing process from the recorder's office, we started to look at late filings. So we have sent letters since then. So that would have been 2015. As of this year, we feel like we have sent enough letters saying, hey, you're filing late, that now we're going to have some repercussions for people that continue to file late. Almost all of you file on time, but there are a few people that continually file late. If they continually file late, that is a potential to have their license suspended or revoked, their marriage officiant license suspended or revoked. So we revoked people for 1 day. And this kind of another warning letter saying we actually are serious about this. We want you to file on time. Some people have multiple late filings every quarter. Some people have maybe one late filing. If you have one late filing because you broke your ankle or whatever, you know, we're not going to, you know, really follow up. This is for people that are chronically late filing their marriage certificates. The law says it needs to be filed within 10 days. That is 10 days, not 10 business days. That's not our, you know, our law, that's the state law. So our job is to make sure that the state law is followed. So any questions on that? Probably nobody here even got a letter. But last year, just to say, and I do think sending out the letters has helped. In 2006, there were over 500 late filings. 2017, almost 500. 2018, less than 4. And so far this year, only 100. And there's only 90 people that filed late this year. And of those, 72 were long-term, and the rest were, you know, like single ceremony or didn't have any official license at all. So that's not, you know, we have over 4,500 officiants. Most of them seem to know what they're doing and take this seriously and want to do the right thing and file on time. A handful don't, and so we will be taking action for the handful that continues to file late. Any questions on that? I think this is the kind of thing that's very important. You know, the decline, why is there a decline in wedding tourism? I think there's a lot of factors, and I think we have to take a self-reflective look. I think the clerk's office was not necessarily doing everything right. I think the industry wasn't doing necessarily everything right, and certainly the marketing wasn't doing everything right. So as we each clean up our act, I think that we can rebuild the industry, but you have to have that trust and integrity when couples come here that they know that they're getting what they paid for. So to me, it's very important that we, you know, do the right thing and follow the law and you know, give them a really, really good experience. And so this is part of that. So just to be more detailed, year-to-date certificates filed, and I didn't do this for licenses. This is actually the real deal. The licenses, we often get just a little bit more than the marriage certificates filed. So the blue is 18, the green is 19. So in January, we were 117 fewer this year than last year. In February, we were 276 fewer than last year. In March, that was a horrible month. We were almost 500 fewer than last year. April, 115. May, yay, we were actually more than last year, 200 more than last year. And then another 80 decline and a 24 decline. So that's better than, so it looks like the end of the year is going to be better than the beginning of the year, but unless something really happens to turn it around, it's probably going to see another decline. This is the numbers. It breaks down a little bit where the numbers, you see Laughlin has year to date, almost a 10% decline in marriage licenses issued. Now we're back to licenses. Henderson has a 4% decline. Downtown, we only have a 2% decline. So for the total, we're down 2% so far this year, which was great because until that, big plus, we were down about 5%. So 2% is much better than 5%. I don't think it's all Laughlin's fault. We were trying to play with the hours down there to see if we could better accommodate customers, and it didn't work out at all. So we're back to the original hours, and we'll see if the numbers recover because of that. Who is coming here? So we still have, the blue is 18 and 19-year-olds. The yellow is people in their 40s, the orange is people in their 20s, and the gray is people in their 30s. So you can see if you add up the orange and the gray that over half of the people that are coming here are, under 40. And then if you go by generation, which is a little bit iffy, I think it's 83 now is where they say millennials start. And then the millennials are ending, and we have the new generation coming up. So the very early 20s are no longer millennials. Post-millennials is the green sliver, but of course they're very young, so you wouldn't expect a lot of them. But the millennials are pretty much half of everybody that comes. So people that say millennials aren't getting married, well, they are getting married here then. I mean, our numbers show that it's millennials, and then the gray is boomers. So there's still a lot of remarriages with the boomers, relatively, and then Gen X is the yellow. So between Gen X and millennials, that's what, 4/5 of the people? And then I didn't have time to kind of redo this. This is a straight graph. This is who is coming to, where they're coming from. And I'll just read it to you and all the stuff is going to be online, so you'll be able to get greater access. So of course, most of them are from the US. So 80% are from the US, and then 20% are out of country. And the top countries are England, Canada, Germany, France, and China, which didn't used to. So we're seeing a little bit of a rise. There's a lot of people in China. And so I think that's a great market for us to go after. Of course, it's a huge market, but if we could, sub-target certain, Chinese cities, that might be a good place because there's a lot of people from China. And Australia, Spain, Scotland, Italy, Sweden, Mexico, Netherlands, Brazil, Ireland, Australia, Wales, New Zealand, Denmark, and Belgium. So that's the top 20 countries. Any questions on that? Recently, I think last week or the week before, Good Morning America came. I didn't actually see the segment, but I hope that it was good.
August 19th.
Oh, August 19th. So everybody watch Good Morning America on August 19th. Thank you. And they filmed a couple coming and getting their marriage license. So on 2020, what I thought I would do, someone approached me and talked about the numbers, that maybe we should promote numbers. So what we thought we would do this year is anyone that wants to show up, you guys all know where the Pueblo room is? That's where we've had quite a few meetings if they're not quite this big. So it's in this building. You can, right next door, yeah. But it's in this building. And so on September 24th, we reserve the Pueblo room for the morning. Anybody that wants to show up and just kind of brainstorm, promotional ideas or things that your business is doing that maybe we can support. I know that, I've been working with Chapel of the Flowers in Lake Las Vegas, and I'm having a meeting out at the city of Boulder City just to see, how can we promote ourselves and help each other at the same time. So anybody that wants to attend that meeting is welcome to attend, and let's just kind of map out what we want to do in 2020. Any questions on that? Some of the things that I've already been working on that I would like to continue next year are, well, first of all, we need to kind of brainstorm what we want to do for the 5 millionth wedding. I think it's a great opportunity to rebrand Las Vegas weddings to be a little bit more young and fresh. But we think 2021-ish, we'll do our, well, this year, our 5 millionth wedding license. And so that's an opportunity for us to do a big promotion around that. So let's kind of, you know, talk about that at that meeting. I'm already working on getting an exhibit with the Nevada State History Museum on the history of the wedding capital of the world. I would love any of you guys' input into that. If you have personal stories, if you have artifacts, if you have, you know, what do you have that you could contribute to that? I'm not saying everything will get in the exhibit, but the more information we have, stories, personal items, you know, I know we have people that have been in the industry for quite a long time that, you know, have great contributions that we want to make sure are part of that exhibit. And I think it will be a really fun exhibit. So it will be on, you know, why and how Las Vegas became the wedding capital of the world and how you guys contributed to it and stories about that. And then, yeah, so what we also want to do is solicit stories from people that have been married in Las Vegas. So we'll put out some kind of a press release that will say, if you were married in Las Vegas and want to send us your story and your picture, you know, you could potentially be part of this exhibit as well. Anybody, not just a celebrity. And I think that will get some really fun stories from around the world, frankly, because there's a few million people that are probably still alive that were married here that would like to share their story. I'm working with the city of Las Vegas. We talked about Wedding Way. That still hasn't come to fruition, but that I still have hopes for that, where the area from Sahara, basically down in the Neon Museum, wants us to go all the way down to the Neon Museum, where the city can designate that Wedding Way, and that's something that we can market. And then they're doing this Project Neon, which is redoing the streets and the sidewalks, and we're talking to them about potentially putting in some brass plaques with celebrity weddings in it. So I'm looking for sponsors that would help cover the costs of that. We're talking about like $150,000 and potentially up to 40 plaques, and we can always add additional plaques as well. So I would love to have your input on how to do that and maybe how to raise the money so that we can get those brass plaques. And that would be something that we potentially could put in a computer chip and make it like a celebrity walk or part of the city's history, put it on the city of Las Vegas's map. So it again promotes weddings because it becomes part of what our history is and why people come downtown, and a special attraction, another attraction for downtown. I talked about the 2020 dates. We aren't doing Las Vegas Marries the Military this year because we just did not have the bandwidth. Last year I had a little bit of money and I was able to hire a PR firm to do the bulk of that organization. It takes a lot of work to do that. We're happy to do it, but we need resources to do that. So that's why we didn't do it this year. If it's something we want to continue, then we can continue it, but we need to make sure we have the resources to do it. And then we will still do the pop-up marriage license bureau at McCarran, but we'll probably try to do something special to make it special again, and more of an event rather than just an annual event. This is really fun. Carl's going to help me. This is something else that we've been working on. For the first time, we got interns in our office, 2 high school kids. They were so sharp and such hard workers. We assigned them a number of things. Some of them they weren't very successful at because they just didn't quite get it. But we said, you know, I have a list of 300 celebrity wedding couples. Do you think you could do something with that? And they came up with this. I'm not going to show you the whole thing. There is a link that we will, we forgot to put the link up there, that you can go. It's not ready for the public yet. This is a private showing, but I do think that this is really, really fun as soon as Carl can get it to go. There we go. And you probably can't see it from here. So our first celebrity couple was John Gilbert and Ina Claire. Who knows who John Gilbert was? There you go. Tell us who John Gilbert was.
He was an actor, wasn't he?
He was. He starred with Greta Garbo, one of her favorite leading men. And he got married in 29. So there's a little story. It's a little bit hard to read. The format that they used, they took something and used their format. So it's not ideal, but it's great nonetheless. So Hop Along Cassidy, Rex Bell and Clara Bow. Who knows the Rex Bell and Clara Bow story here? Yeah, I mean, their ranch, the Walking Box Ranch, is right down there by Searchlight, across from Harry Reid's. Harry Reid grew up with them. And he almost became our governor, but he was our lieutenant governor. He was also actor, but he became our lieutenant governor, but then he died of a heart attack while he was campaigning for governor. He probably would have been our governor as well. And Clara Bow, who knows who Clara Bow was? Yeah, the It Girl. Bela Lugosi, Johnny Weissmuller, Tarzan, Fred McMurray, Donna Reed, Nelson Eddy. Who knows who Nelson Eddy is? Yeah, big band leader. So it's really fun to just go through. We don't need to go through. Do you know that Robert Redford's on here? Michael Caine is on here. Obviously, Elvis is on here. So it's really fun. I think when we have it all done, Paula has been doing a huge amount of work. We're making a little bit of stories about them. We make sure everything is edited correctly. And what I'm surprised at is how many pictures of both of them we can get. That the part of the program that they selected that we don't like is you can only do one picture. So if we can't get a picture of the two of them, we put the celebrity up there. And then you don't have a picture of the second person. But I was just surprised at how great they were at finding both parties. Okay, go back to just the agenda. So what I would like you to do is we will put a link up underneath when we post this video, we'll put a link up there. Keep it private because there's still some glitches in it. But look through it. Give us feedback. Some things that we can't change, like format and those kind of things, we can't really change. But if you see errors, or if you say, hey, I married X and they're not on there, let us know, right? So the LVCVA annual report on the Wedding Tourism Fund and our annual budget will be September 3rd. So those who came to the County Commission meeting last time saw that the budget item was pulled at the request of Commissioner Brown, and it will be coupled with the LVCVA's annual report. So you are welcome to come and speak at public comment. It's at 9 o'clock on September 3rd. It's always the first Tuesday of the month or the third Tuesday, so this will be at the first Tuesday.
Hang on.
Just one second.
Is it possible to get a copy of the proposed budget just to see it before that meeting?
Yeah.
And where?
It will be on the agenda. The documents are, so you go to Clark County and you look up the BCC agenda. I don't know what agenda item it will be, so I can't tell you that. But then you just click on that and all the documents will be related to that. So as most of you guys know, the budget we're talking about is the Wedding Tourism Fund budget. When I was elected, you guys said that you guys were in trouble, so I went up to the legislature that year and got $14 put on every marriage license that we issue. So that creates an annual fund of about $1.2 million. It's going down every year, obviously, as everything else is if the weddings go down. But it's about $1.2 million per year. The commission thought that the best place to spend that was the LVCVA. I did not necessarily agree with that because I feel like they have a $100 million marketing budget. I would rather see them put a little bit more effort in weddings within their regular budget and then partner with us with this $1 million. So far we have given them $3.1 million, but they're probably going to get another $250,000 based on last quarter, which ends in July, right? So the budget we're talking about is a fiscal year budget from July to July of 2000, was considered 2020 budget. This is from a piece of the annual report that they've submitted in the past, and you are obviously welcome to come and see what they've been doing with the money. I'm pulling out just a couple things out of it. It's a nice presentation, so I think you would benefit by seeing it. So in the 2017-18 annual report to the commission, they said that they had parlayed that $1 million that we gave them into $27 million, which is not bad. 20 of that $27 million, however, was promoting the events that we put together. Las Vegas Marries the Military, the Pop-Up Marriage License Bureau at the airport, and the Royal Wedding Month. So the Marry the Military generated about almost $4 million in publicity. The Pop-Up Marriage License Bureau did almost $15 million, and the Royal Wedding did close to $1 million. So we feel like the events that we put together in collaboration with the wedding industry give the LVCVA things to talk about that actually generate interest in the wedding industry. And so that's the kind of partnership that we would like to see continue. We have actually lost market share, so we're getting a smaller percentage of the weddings that are happening nationally, and so that's an issue that we think needs to be addressed. Independent and collaboration with that Wedding Tourism Fund. But we do feel like the LVCVA should be also promoting weddings because that's always part of its leisure stovepipe. So you can see, this is just kind of a fun, it'll look better for you if you actually pull it up. One of the things, why is it declining? So you can see that one of the good things is that this blue line, the peak line in 2004, we've been trying to figure out for a long time why we had that little bit of a jump in 2004, because if you take out that 2004 jump, it's a steady decline. And actually, it was the year before that What Happens Here Stays Here in Las Vegas. So we can probably, and Britney Spears got married in the spring of 2004. So between those two things, I think that was actually a very good thing. So we can tell that marketing works when we do it. Some people say that what happened is that we closed the Marriage License Bureau hours from the 24 on weekends and holidays, but you can see again that happened in 2006 and the decline had already been happening since 2000, so it's just part of the regular decline. And then of course the Great Recession is the orange in 2008, and you can see that we just have really fallen since then. Now I'm going to answer your question. So, like I said, the Center for Disease Control keeps the national numbers, and so you can go there and look at the rate of weddings, which continues to fall by the population, but of course our population keeps expanding with older people as well. Baby boomers are older, and they don't get married at the same rate as younger people, as we have seen earlier. And so you can see since the bottom of this is the actual number of marriage licenses issued or marriage certificates issued per year aggregate for the US, right? So this is a national chart of national weddings, all the states. And you can see that in 2009, it was down. That's probably part of the recession, but it's steadily been building since then. So it's increased 7.5% since its decline. So weddings are increasing nationally. Not by huge amounts, but weddings are going up. Are millennials getting married? That's who's probably the bulk of this increase. Are they getting married at the same rate? For us, I don't really think it matters. We just want to know that weddings are up and we want a portion of it. We want to get our market share back. So those are the two things that I think are most important to us. Weddings are up and our market share is down. We want our market share to go back up to the, at a peak, we were almost 5% of the national market, and now this year we'll probably be less than 3%. We are investing in other tourism, which is great. So we know that we spent about $750 million on state investment on the Raiders Stadium. When it's fully in place, and I don't have all the backup data here, but we do have it, we expect about 451,000 incremental visitors, which would generate about 600,000 room nights. Great. I hope a lot of them come and get married at the same time, but that's good. It's good for the local economy. It's good for us. Weddings, however, in 2017, we generated 1.3 million room nights per year. So even at its peak, the Raiders Stadium won't replace if our industry dies. So our industry is important to the local economy, and we're investing in other things in the local economy. We need to invest in weddings as well. Any questions about any of that? So again, the LVCVA annual report, and I encourage you to come and listen to their annual report, is on the first Tuesday of September in the commission chambers. 9 o'clock is public comment. You're welcome to come and say how the wedding industry impacts you and how you impact the wedding industry, what you contribute to the local economy, how the decline has impacted your business, and how we believe that being able to market ourselves through some of the wedding tourism funds helps us generate publicity that will help us bring back the business. So obviously you can say whatever you want. That's my contention. Any questions or comments or thoughts? Yeah, that's the last one.
I had the opportunity to be here last week when we spoke, and you pulled that item off the agenda on the wedding budget. I guess it was dress rehearsal. But with that said, how much money are you looking or actually asking for? What do you think you're really going to get in the way of money to promote the tourism industry here for the weddings?
Well, that is the million-dollar question. So the budget that I proposed was $450,000 for us to use for different promotions, and then that would give the LVCVA about $650,000 to promote us.
As if we just really show up in numbers, make a difference. And
That would
I
make a
really
difference.
encourage everybody. And it's not just the room nights, it's how we impact the local economy. So I'm going to really urge everybody to do that. It's so important. We want to see everybody continue to come to Vegas and get married. Let's hope we get that money.
Well, I think that it's really important that we be able to do projects that, take manpower. The LVCVA does a great job with what they do, but they're not going to create events and like Marry the Military. It's too much work, which is fine. We're willing to do that and give them things to talk about, because it's important to have fresh things to talk about. They can't talk about the same thing over and over and over because nobody listens. So we need to do things that are interesting and fun, and I need your help to do that. I can't do it by myself, and that's why I need some funds so that I can get some help creating these events that you guys can participate in. Hi.
Hi. Going back to my previous question about how do we know whether our country is going down in stressing the importance of families and marriages, whether it be faith-based or just as a culture, and are we making an impact on our society with emphasizing the importance of marriage? In other words, my question is, how do we know that we're actually not declining as a country which based our culture in good, healthy families that had good, healthy marriages? Do you know anything about? Do we have any statistics about how our culture is being impacted?
No, I don't have statistics about culture. I do have, I can show that people are getting married. So I think the news has been wrong for quite a long time. They keep saying marriages are declining because the rate is going down, but they don't factor in that so this is say this is the whole country's population. How many people in here do you think will get married next year? Just looking around at, age and demographics. Okay, so 1. So that would be a pretty low rate, right? Now, if I went to a college, a senior graduating class of college students, and had all those in this room, and you guys were all gone, the rate would be much higher. So your population makes a huge impact on your rate, because it's rate per 1,000, and it doesn't care whether you're 90 or whether you're 4 or whether you're within that kind of demographic that gets married. So I think I have 3 millennials. I think they're getting married. Their friends are getting married. I mean, it's anecdotal. Maybe they're not getting married at the same rate. They're definitely getting married older because my daughter graduated in 2008. There wasn't a job to be had in this country. She left the country to find work. A lot of kids did that. So those kids are only now starting to recover. And if you think back to the old biblical stories about when people got married, they got married when they had an economic stability, right? Isn't that what happened with Joseph? He got married when he had worked 7 years to get economic stability. That's still true. People don't want to get married if they don't have any kind of a steady idea of where they're going to live or how they're going to feed themselves. They don't get married then. They don't have kids then.
Yes,
So
we
I
have.
think having a better economy is really going to be helping this. And the social aspects, we don't really have a whole lot of control over other than celebrating marriages and saying we still think it's a great thing.
In other words, our country is not emphasizing so much just shacking up and just live it up like some people say.
I think people still want to get married.
There's a gentleman over there.
Okay.
I mean, but that's my personal opinion. But I do think the demographics have a huge portion of the rate, why the rate's going down. And the story has been it's the rate, but let's look at, that's the actual number of marriages that happened, and those are going up.
Go ahead.
A question with regard to the Las Vegas Convention and Visitors. What does the A stand for anyway?
Authority.
Authority. Are they promoting weddings just as part of their publicity for their events? Is it at all part of their, come have your convention here or whatever, and these are the added benefits of being here?
I don't have personal knowledge of that because I can't go everywhere, but what I'm told by a number of people is that when they go on these international tours that are very successful, I mean, let's not say that they're not successful. Look at our visitor volume, but that there's very little about weddings included in that. I think that because we've been kind of here agitating, they're getting, it's being a little bit more. But frankly, NACO was here, the National Association of County Officers. We hosted it. We wanted to do kind of a wedding tour, and it wasn't included in that. So, I think that the industry we've been here so long that we're kind of like the old hat. We need to reinvent ourselves. We need to, kind of agitate and just show that we are adding value. And I'm not saying that in a negative way. I'm just saying that, we're not the shiny penny any longer. So we need to.
should be the ones hand billing at these.
I think we need to have a higher representation, and I think that we deserve it, and I think that we bring in business. And, we need to all be kind of giving that story that, I hire. I don't know how many people Sherry hires. I don't know how many people Cliff hires. That, these are people that hire people. It's an industry. A lot of small businesses that are, they support themselves and their families through this industry. And these are important jobs. There's probably 18,000 jobs in Clark County that are directly related. And I can't go into a restaurant where I ask them, hey, do you ever do any weddings, that they don't do weddings, that they don't want more weddings. Other businesses, not just direct wedding businesses. And so I think part of it is we've been quiet for too long in a very positive way. I think we need to say, hey, we're here, we're here.
I have a two-part question. How will you determine what the 5 millionth wedding?
Oh, we have a database, and we know exactly how many weddings we've done. We do a report. We don't do it daily, but we do a report.
Okay, and then what if that turns up to be one in Laughlin?
Say that one more time.
All the planning and everything, the presentation has been about on the basis of it occurring in the Vegas Valley. What happens if it happens down in Laughlin?
Well, come to the brainstorming meeting and let's talk about that, because I don't know. You're right. It certainly could be down in Laughlin.
Yeah, okay.
Could be in Henderson on the, you know, now we're open 2 days a week down in Henderson. It could be in Henderson. So yeah, that's why I don't really want it to be a spontaneous surprise like we've done some of the other ones, because I think we need to plan it and figure out how we can do another model, because that's just too hard for something that I want it to be bigger than that. So yeah, let's plan another model for how we would celebrate that. And I would like your ideas, frankly. Any other questions or comments? Raise your hand if you're going to try to be there on the 3rd. Good. Please encourage people to come, because I do think it's important. They don't really think the industry is big. They don't think that it's important, and they don't think that we contribute as much as we contribute. And it needs to be more than just, you know, Lynn saying this stuff. They need to understand that the industry is behind this move, and that all of us are willing to, you know, jump in and help make a difference. That it's not just one person trying to do it all, because I can't do it all. Even with $1 million, I couldn't do it all. So, thank you.
Thank you.